Will Pakistan send troops to Gaza to disarm Hamas? Reports say Donald Trump wants it, but Asim Munir is reluctant. It's a decision that could shape his reign. We'll tell you why. Meanwhile, another conflict is brewing. The US is blockading Venezuelan oil. Is this about drugs? Is this about oil? Or is this about regime change? And how does it impact you? In China, the economic pain is deepening. State-backed developer Vantage is on the brink of collapse. It could default as soon as next week. In Ethiopia, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on his first bilateral visit. We'll tell you how India is rekindling old civilizational ties and making a new strategic play in Africa. Also in focus, why Elon Musk is looking to fund the Republican Party again, Donald Trump's party. Why violence has erupted in Dhaka with protesters marching towards the Indian High Commission. How India's new labour laws could mean smaller increments for you. Why the US job market is cracking with unemployment hitting a 4-year high. Why FIFA is facing a backlash over ticket pricing, and how 2025 turned out to be a year that promised a lot but did not deliver. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. Warner Brothers Discovery rejects Paramount's hostile takeover bid, says the terms of the Netflix merger are better. Earlier this month, Netflix announced it will buy the entertainment giant for nearly $83 billion. Days later, Paramount announced a counter-offer exceeding $100 billion. China's newest and most advanced aircraft carrier sails through the Taiwan Strait. This is the carrier's first transit of the sensitive waterway since entering service last month. Beijing claims it has sole sovereignty over the strait, which is a major maritime route for cargo traffic. Doctors in England go on strike for the 14th time in less than 3 years. The dispute with the government is over pay and jobs. The demand for a 26% hike has derailed negotiations. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has called the 5-day strike irresponsible. Finland's Prime Minister apologizes to citizens of Japan, China and South Korea. Some Finnish lawmakers had sparked outrage by posting pictures of themselves making derogatory squinting gestures. They claim it was to support Miss Finland 2025, who was stripped of her title last week for posting a similar picture. And Bhutan pledges $1 billion in cryptocurrency to develop a mindfulness city. Thimphu wants to make an economic hub for the Himalayan nation. Buddhist majority Bhutan prioritizes gross national happiness over growth, but widespread unemployment has forced thousands of young people to leave the country.
That's going to be next.
Pakistan's Asim Munir faces a new dilemma. No, he is not confused about his next promotion. He is confused about a decision that could determine his political future. And it concerns Gaza. It's been 2 months since the ceasefire deal in Gaza. Things have been tense but stable. So the focus is shifting to the next stage, to deploy a coalition of Muslim soldiers to Gaza. What will they do? Disarm Hamas and restore law and order. That will be their mission. And this is where Pakistan comes in. US President Donald Trump is pushing Pakistan to join this force. He wants Pakistani soldiers to police Gaza. Just one problem though. Asim Munir is reluctant. He does not want to send Pakistani soldiers to disarm Hamas. Reports say he will fly to Washington in the coming weeks. He will meet US President Trump for the 3rd time. That's the 3rd meeting in 6 months. And in that meeting, Trump is expected to raise Gaza again. But why is the US insisting on Pakistan? And why is their army chief Asim Munir reluctant? Let's answer the first question first. Why is Trump looking at Pakistan? For two reasons. One, the size and nature of the army. Pakistan has some 654,000 soldiers. That's way more than any country in West Asia. 654,000 soldiers. Saudi Arabia has around 200,000 soldiers. The UAE has around 65,000 and Qatar has around 22,000 soldiers. The only other possibilities where you'll find a sizable number of Muslim soldiers are Turkey and Iran. Iran, of course, is off the table, and Israel has vetoed Turkey's participation. Plus, Pakistan soldiers are experienced. Yes, they've lost all the wars they fought, but at least they fought wars. And even losing counts as some sort of battlefield experience. That could come in handy in Gaza. Which brings us to the second reason why Trump wants Pakistan. Asim Munir is seen as Trump's man. The US president hosted him for a one-on-one meeting in June. That too without any civilian leaders from Pakistan. So chances are Trump feels confident asking Munir, but Munir is not keen to send his soldiers. The question is why? And again, I'll give you two reasons for this. One, it could be a military nightmare. Pakistan's job would be to disarm Hamas fighters. These are battle-hardened men. They are fresh after 2 months of ceasefire. What if they refuse to disarm? Pakistan could get drawn into a fight against Hamas, and that's something Islamabad does not want.
We are not ready for that. This is not our job, but of the Palestinian law enforcement agencies. Our job is peacekeeping, not peace enforcement. As per my information, if it will include disarming Hamas, then even my Indonesian counterpart has informally expressed his reservation.
Secondly, it would be an unpopular decision in Pakistan. You see, Pakistan is overwhelmingly pro-Palestine. Around 91% of their people sympathize with Gaza, only 2% align with Israel. Public opinion is usually a non-issue for Asim Munir, but in this case, it could backfire spectacularly because Pakistan has strong Islamist parties that oppose the US and oppose Israel. They may not have a lot of seats in Pakistan's sham parliament, but on the streets, they can mobilize tens of thousands of people, and Asim Munir cannot afford that. Certainly not right now. As we speak, he's facing a stiff challenge from former Prime Minister Imran Khan. His condition in jail is back in the news. Yesterday, his sister tried to visit Imran Khan in prison, and once again, the authorities refused to let her go. So hundreds of his supporters gathered in Rawalpindi, including senior leaders of his party, the PTI, that's the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, that's Imran Khan's party. They protested outside the Adiala jail, the jail where Imran Khan is being kept. The army responded with a violent crackdown. They fired water cannons to repel the protesters. And remember, Imran Khan has directly blamed Asim Munir for his imprisonment. So if Munir joins the Gaza force, Imran Khan will capitalize, his party will hit the streets in protest, and Asim Munir could face a new coalition of powers, Imran Khan plus Islamists, which is why he's in a fix. So which way will he go? If he turns down Donald Trump, he could lose an important ally, an ally who could help his economy and his military. But if he agrees to Trump, he could face a rebellion at home. There are no easy choices here, but then again, Munir can only blame himself. He put all his eggs in Trump's basket. He grabbed authority from the civilian leaders of Pakistan, so now he must take a decision that could reshape his reign. Imagine waking up in Venezuela this morning. The US is calling your government a terrorist organization. Your lifeline, oil, is being choked. The world's most powerful navy is parked right off your coast. And there are whispers of regime change. And this did not come out of nowhere. It has been building up to this for months. It started with a single accusation. US President Donald Trump accused Venezuela of drug trafficking. He said they're moving the drug fentanyl into the US. Soon, American warships moved into the region. Washington attacked boats. It called them drug boats, and it killed more than 90 people.
I have to say the drugs coming in by sea are down 94%. And we're trying to figure out who the other 6% are. But they're down 94%, and we're going to start hitting them on land, which is a lot easier to do, frankly. But these are a direct military threat to the United States of America. They're trying to drug out our country.
It seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. The American government, it openly discussed plans for a land operation, and now here we are. The US is blockading Venezuela's oil. What does that mean? It means oil tankers cannot enter or leave Venezuela. And for a country that lives on oil, this is the death knell. So what is this really about? Is it about stopping drugs? Is it about Venezuela's oil? Or is it about toppling the Venezuelan regime? Tonight we'll try to break it down for you. But first of all, look at the country that we're focusing on, Venezuela. It is located on the northern coast of South America. The capital city is called Caracas. This country has around 28 million people. It also has the largest proven oil reserves on the planet. That's right, Venezuela has more oil than Saudi Arabia or any other country for that matter, the largest proven oil reserves. So for them, oil is not just an export, it is their lifeline. It's what the government survives on. And what has Trump done? He's choking this lifeline. He has ordered a quote-unquote total and complete blockade of sanctioned oil tankers. What does that mean? Say a ship is carrying Venezuelan oil. According to the US, this ship is illegal. So they can stop, seize, or sanction the ship. And this is a direct blow to Venezuela's oil supply.
La clase obrera petrolera.
We tell the people of the United States our truth, and it is very clear. Imperialism and the Nazi-fascist right wing want to colonize Venezuela to take our wealth, oil, gas, gold, iron, aluminum, and other minerals. We have sworn to defend our homeland, and in Venezuela peace will always prevail, along with stability and shared happiness for our people.
But why are the Americans doing this? Why this blockade now? Like I said, Trump has been ramping up pressure. He has sanctioned ships. He has targeted the relatives of President Maduro. He's blacklisted businesses and deployed American military assets closer to Venezuelan waters. So this oil blockade is the logical escalation of that campaign. And it gives the Americans leverage. You see, Venezuela is already economically fragile. The economy was surviving on oil exports. You cut that and you bring Venezuela to its knees. By blocking oil, you create maximum pressure with minimum boots on the ground. And this is not just about Venezuela. This blockade has implications for the whole world. The moment the markets heard blockade, prices jumped. Oil prices went up by 2.5%. Now, Venezuela exports roughly 600,000 barrels of oil per day, which is not a big number in the larger scheme of things. But remember, the oil market is already turbulent. When you add more uncertainty to it, it triggers fears and prices rise. They did not spiral out of control, but this could affect countries that rely on Venezuelan crude, countries like China. In fact, China is the biggest loser here. It buys most of Venezuela's oil, often through complicated routes to dodge sanctions. Much of that oil repays old Chinese loans. So if tankers are blocked, China's supply chains get disrupted. Beijing may not want a showdown with the US, but it also doesn't like losing an energy partner. What about India? Well, in 2024, India imported around 1 million barrels of Venezuelan crude, which made up only 1.5% of India's oil needs. So this blockade won't hurt New Delhi. Having said that, India is watching these developments closely because India hates supply uncertainty. Any disruption pushes global prices higher, and that will hit India's import bill directly. So I come back to the question, what is all of this really about? Is it about drugs? Is it about oil? Or is it about something else altogether? Analysts say this is about regime change. Venezuela is ruled by Nicolas Maduro. He became president in 2013 and he's been president since. The US does not like him. They want him gone. But then again, they wanted him gone for years now. Why are they applying pressure now? What has changed now? Also, there's another layer in this plot, and that is Venezuela's opposition. It is actively courting Washington. Take Maria Corina Machado. She is a prominent opposition leader. This year, she won the Nobel Peace Prize, and she dedicated it to Donald Trump, who did not win the Peace Prize. So the Venezuelan opposition is courting the United States. It is promising to open Venezuela's oil sector to American companies.
Only God knows that. What I can tell you is that Maduro's regime is in its final days. It will come to an end with or without negotiations. It is in Maduro's best interest for it to be through negotiations. At this point, he must be very clear about that, and there are probably actors who do not want him to do so or will not let him do so.
And while all of this sounds good on paper, history has not been kind to such plans. America knows this well. From Iraq to Libya, toppling regimes is easy. Managing the consequences is much harder. Removing Maduro could unleash chaos in Venezuela. It could destabilize the whole region. So while regime change is part of the picture, it's also a very high-risk gamble.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
We'll go for a straight face-off on this. Tuin Sinha, national spokesperson of the BJP, is joining us. Sujata Paul is spokesperson of the Congress Party, who's joining us. Sujata Paul, let me start with you, ma'am, because, look, Rahul Gandhi is free to criticize the government, Mr. Modi's policies, the economy. All of that is kosher. But it should be in keeping with facts, right? Here are the facts. The number of vehicles that India produced in 1991, just as India was opening up, was 2 million units annually. Today, we are producing 28 million units. That's a more than 10-fold increase. Even in vehicle exports, India's automobile exports rose to 5.3 million units across all vehicle categories, growing at almost 20% year on year. These are the facts. You can't quibble with these facts. You can't quibble with this data. You can make political points, but let's be honest to the facts.
Let's be honest to the facts. And what Mr. Rahul Gandhi said was that TVS company's 450cc bike was being developed with BMW, and the Indian flag is flying high, and that's great to see. But in India, if you want to make sure that we are a strong economy, we should look at manufacturing because it is declining. And I am going to quote to you from the Hindu of 1st December 2025, where it has been mentioned that manufacturing has been at an all-time low in 9 months. And it says, I quote, the seasonally adjusted HSBC India Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, that is PMI, fell from 59.2 in October to 56.6 in November, highlighting the slowest improvement in operating conditions since February. So clearly, when you are going to be selective about data, that will raise questions, because if you're really patriotic, you will want your country to better. But you were talking about the mobile phones which were being exported, manufactured. Yes, And I thank you for doing that, because the fact of the matter is that if I start rattling off the data, which is really a long list, the components which are being used are not manufactured in India, please. It is all imported from various countries, even Korea, China, etc. So what is this? We are assembled in India rather than manufactured in India.
No, but
When the Prime Minister brought
ma'am, can I just give you a couple of that 59.2 that you talked about in October, I believe, was a 17-year high. The purchasing manufacturing index has never been this high as far as India is concerned in manufacturing. Now, on the question of mobile phones, since you brought it up, here are the facts, right? Mobile phone exports from India rose from 1,500 crores in 2014-15 to over 2 lakh crores in 24-25. That is a more than 100 times increase. Now, please tell me, how is that a problem, or how is that an issue to be taken politically on? Like I said, please attack Mr. Modi, please attack his policies, economy, whatever you want to attack. But the data says there's been a 100 times jump in mobile phone exports.
Don't keep talking about attacking anybody. This country belongs to Mr. Gandhi as well as Mr. Modi.
Of course.
And if you're yes, so it's not about attacking one person. It is talking about bettering our country. And like I said, what is being exported? First, to import, we could manufacture that. And during the pandemic, we could have really become the manufacturing hub of the subcontinent, at least, if not the world. Okay. And clearly, somewhere we have been missing on that. And when you talk about exports, it's actually, importing the parts, the components, assembling them.
Okay, you made that point. We're assembled in India, we're not made in India. Tuhin Sinha, 2 points. Number one, because of the Trump tariffs, 50% tariffs that he has imposed, in the month of September, exports to the US fell by 12%. In the month of October, it fell by 9%. Now, the point that Mr. Gandhi is making is we're anyway not growing our manufacturing to the extent that it needs to.
In China, the property crisis is spiraling. One of the country's biggest developers is in trouble. We are talking about Vantage. It is days away from a default. It has amassed a whopping $52 billion in debt. One by one, the loans are coming due, and the company is running out of time to repay them. In fact, this week, Vantage missed a major repayment deadline. It had taken out a loan of 2 billion yuan, that's about 284 million US dollars. This debt was due on Monday. Vantage missed the deadline. It couldn't make the repayment. So what happens now? Under normal rules, you get a 5-day grace period. But this company wants more, a lot more time. Vantage has reached out to its lenders. It is asking for a 30-day extension to repay the dues. A meeting of their lenders has been scheduled. It's on the 22nd of December. That's when the lenders will vote on Vantage's proposal. If they approve it, the company gets a lifeline. If they don't, the company will default. It will default as soon as next week. At this point, the odds are 50-50. It could go either way. Vantage needs 90% of its lenders to approve the proposal. And in the past, it has sought a similar extension, and that request was rejected. So now the company has made a fresh offer to its lenders. It is ready to pay an interest on the debt before the 5-day grace period ends. Basically, Vantage wants to pay the interest by the 22nd of December. That's around 60 million yuan. They will pay it. And then it will pay the principal amount in 30 days' time, which is around 2 billion yuan. This is the proposal. They hope to convince their lenders. But behind the scenes, They're also meeting banks and insurers. A closed-door meeting was supposed to happen in Shenzhen today. Reports say insurance firms and commercial banks were invited. The agenda is not clear, but it's safe to assume that Wang Ke's debt problems were up for discussion. The developer is desperate to avoid a default. The stakes are high because another debt repayment is approaching. Later this month, a bond payment is coming due. It's a loan worth 3.7 billion yuan, that's over 500 million US dollars. The loan is due on the 28th of December. In this case too, Wang Ke has sought an extension. They want to delay the payment by 1 year. And that, in a nutshell, is the story. This company is stumbling from one deadline to the next. It scrambles to avoid one default, and before that's done, another payment comes due. This is what you'd call a perfect storm. What's worse, Wang Ke is not a private company. It is backed by the Chinese state. Its largest shareholder is a company called Shenzhen Metro Group. It's a Chinese state-owned company. Earlier this year, this company came to Wang Ke's rescue. It had pumped billions into the developer. Despite that support, Wang Ke is still struggling. Now, Beijing could easily cut a check and rescue it, but this time the Chinese state is quiet. There is no sign of direct intervention, no talk of a state-funded bailout. And that is why Wang Ke is struggling to convince its lenders. You see, it doesn't have Beijing support, and that does not inspire confidence. The lenders have good reasons to be wary. If a state-owned giant like Wang Ke is allowed to default, what hope do others have? Also, do remember, real estate was a key growth engine for China. At one point, it made up a quarter of the entire economy. But since 2021, the sector has been gripped by a crisis. Developers have defaulted, home sales have fallen, and demand remains weak. Amid this chaos, Wang Ke was considered a safe bet. But today, even they are struggling. If this company is allowed to fail, it will be seen as a clear message from Beijing. China is ready to let more developers collapse. That is the message. There is no safety net, not even for state-linked entities. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when I say Ethiopia? Some of you may think just another African country, others may think conflict, instability, war. But today Ethiopia is in news because the Indian Prime Minister is there. But why is he there? Well, this story is about answering that question. Why is he there? Prime Minister Modi is on a 3-nation tour. The first stop was Jordan. From there, it was a quick flight to Ethiopia. That's the second leg of his trip. And it wasn't a courtesy stop. This visit was about history, strategy, and the future of the global South. Let me tell you that story tonight, starting with the story of Ethiopia. It's a country located in the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia is a landlocked country. Its capital is the city of Addis Ababa. That's where Prime Minister Modi landed. And Ethiopia's history is quite interesting. It is one of the oldest civilizations on earth. Scientists say some of the earliest footprints of humanity were found here in this country. It is the only African nation that was never colonized. So it was a symbol of African independence. Ethiopia is home to the African Union headquarters, meaning Addis Ababa is Africa's diplomatic capital. And in 2024, Ethiopia joined the BRICS grouping. Now, this is Prime Minister Modi's first ever bilateral visit to Ethiopia, also the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister in 15 years, and the timing is also important. In 2026, India will take over the BRICS chairmanship. Ethiopia is a new BRICS member. Both countries are part of the global South, so this visit is about alignment. During the visit, Prime Minister Modi was awarded Ethiopia's highest civilian honor, the Great Honor Nishan of Ethiopia. That's what it's called. And here's the headline. Indian Prime Minister Modi is the first global leader to receive this. The visit also had a personal touch. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed personally received Prime Minister Modi at the airport. He drove him to the hotel and again drove him back to the airport. In diplomacy, such gestures speak louder than press releases. Prime Minister Modi also addressed Ethiopia's parliament. He drew parallels between Vande Mataram and Ethiopia's national anthem.
India's national song, Vande Mataram, and the Ethiopian national anthem both refer to our land as the mother. They inspire us to take pride in the heritage, culture, national beauty, and protect the motherland.
Now here's the part most people don't know. India-Ethiopia ties are nearly 2,000 years old. Back when Europe was still figuring itself out, Indian traders were sailing across the Red Sea to Ethiopian ports. They traded spices, silk and cotton for gold and ivory. More importantly, they traded ideas. Centuries later, Ethiopians were resisting colonial pressure and Indians stood beside them. Indian soldiers fought in Africa during the Second World War. Indian teachers taught generations of Ethiopian students. So this visit is not about striking a new friendship, it is about renewing an old one. The two countries upgraded ties to a strategic partnership.
Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed and I took a big step forward yesterday. We have decided to elevate our bilateral relationship to the level of a strategic partnership. We will also enhance our trade and investment cooperation as well as on defense and security matters. Honorable members, as developing countries, we have a lot to learn from and offer to each other.
India is already Ethiopia's second largest trading partner. Indian companies have invested over $5 billion there. Around 650 Indian firms operate in Ethiopia. This creates tens of thousands of local jobs. India also has also extended over $1 billion in concessional credit. This is to fund railways, electrification and industrial projects. Also, 80% of Ethiopians depend on agriculture for survival. And India knows the story too well, which is why agricultural cooperation is front and center. So is renewable energy. India plans to bring solar rooftops, off-grid power, solar pumps for farmers and energy access to remote villages. So this visit tells us three things. One, India is serious about Africa, not as a region for resources, but as an equal partner. Ethiopia sits at the crossroads of Africa, so being close to it means being close to Africa's future. That's number one. Two, India is preparing for leadership in BRICS and the Global South, which means engaging with all the stakeholders is important. And three, India is betting on long-term relationships, not transactional diplomacy. Long story short, this visit was not about optics, it was about positioning, two ancient civilizations reconnecting to shape the future. In a rapidly changing global order, quiet friendships often turn out to matter the most. And India-Ethiopia is one of those friendships. Everyone likes a rewind, but not the kind that Bangladesh is doing. Their capital is looking a lot like July 2024. That's when radicals hijacked public protests in Dhaka. More than 16 months later, it's déjà vu. Hundreds of radicals hit the streets in Bangladesh earlier today. Their target? The Indian High Commission. Thankfully, the police intervened. They blocked the roads leading to the Indian mission. Take a look. are these so-called protesters? They belong to a group called July Echo, meaning July Unity. It refers to the campaign that toppled Sheikh Hasina. And what do they want? Well, mainly two things. First is the extradition of Sheikh Hasina from India. Second is justice for an attempted murder. Now listen closely. On Friday, a Bangladeshi student leader was shot in Dhaka. His name is Osman Hadi. Reports say he's alive, but he's in a coma. Now, Hadi leads a radical group in Bangladesh. He's known for his anti-India rhetoric, so his supporters are blaming India. They say that Hadi's shooters escaped across the border. They went to India. No proof, no police verification, just a baseless allegation. Which brings us to today. When the protest was announced, India reacted. New Delhi summoned Bangladesh's High Commissioner. Let me quote from India's statement. The High Commissioner's attention was drawn in particular to the activities of some extremist elements who have announced plans to create a security situation around the Indian mission in Dhaka. India completely rejects the false narrative sought to be created by extremist elements regarding certain recent events in Bangladesh. And this wasn't the only flashpoint. Another Bangladeshi group is also stoking the fire. That's the NCP, the National Citizen Party. One of their leaders talked about breaking up India. He threatened to isolate the Seven Sisters. Now, some quick context here. The Seven Sisters refers to India's 7 northeastern states. They share a long border with Bangladesh. In the past too, this has been a flashpoint. Under previous regimes, Bangladesh has aided insurgent groups in the northeast. And the NCP is promising to repeat that. They say they will give refuge to separatist groups from India. Naturally, India has protested this too. They lodged an official complaint with the High Commissioner. And all of this is enraging, but it's also quite sad. Because look at the timing. Yesterday was Victory Day for our countries. India celebrated its victory over Pakistan in 1971 and Bangladesh celebrated its liberation. Our people fought together in that war. They bled together on the battlefield. Yet look at the situation now. The Indian High Commission is the symbol of Indian power in Dhaka. Imagine trying to encircle and attack it. It signals a complete breakdown in ties. Yesterday, the Indian Prime Minister's effigies were burnt in Dhaka. Anti-India rallies were organized. Anti-India slogans were raised. Yet what did the interim regime do? Absolutely nothing. In fact, they made matters worse. Look at what Bangladesh's foreign minister is saying about the 1971 war. I'm quoting. It is true that India achieved victory against Pakistan, but their own experts acknowledge that without the weakening of the Pakistan army by local resistance, India's victory would have taken much longer with far greater losses and casualties. Without the support of the freedom fighters, this victory could not have been achieved. We did not know it was a competition. India has never downplayed Bangladesh's role in 1971. In fact, India fought for Bangladesh. Our soldiers carried the Bangladeshi flag into Dhaka. They shouted Joy Bangla or Hail Bengal as they entered the capital. That spirit is very much alive here in India, but I'm afraid it is not in Bangladesh. Frankly, this interim regime is a lost cause. All hope now lies on the elections in February. Let's see what a new elected government brings. Let's talk about your next pay hike. If you work in India, this story is for you. India is about to introduce new labor laws. India's labor laws were a mess when they were spread across 29 different rules, each with its own definition, its own threshold and exemptions. This created a lot of confusion for both companies and workers. But now those 29 rules are being merged. They're being clubbed into 4 simple labor codes. And this might change the amount of money that lands into your account. Not your salary on paper, but your real monthly take home. The rules could force a rejig of how your salary is split. So will your next increment feel smaller than before? It all depends on your company, actually. If they restructure your pay, more money could go into your retirement savings or what is commonly known as the Provident Fund. But your in-hand salary could dip. Although the government has issued a clarification, they say for most employees there won't be any drastic change. And yet, there are things that you should watch out for, especially before your next appraisal kicks in. Here's a report.
Let's be honest. Nobody really understands their salary slip. Your offer letter might say 60,000, but your bank balance tells a different story. The one person who understands this mess is HR. Now, India is bringing in new labour codes. And the big question is this: will your take-home salary shrink next year? Especially after your appraisal. Let's break it down. Right now, companies split your salary into different parts. There's your basic pay, your allowances, your bonuses, and your deductions, like Provident Fund or PF. Most companies keep the basic pay low. Why? Because your Provident Fund or retirement savings are linked to that. So lower basic pay means lower Provident Fund deduction, and you end up getting more cash in hand. The new Labour Code changes that. It says your basic salary must be at least 50% of your total package. That means for many people, the basic pay goes up, and so does the deduction towards retirement savings. That means your take-home salary could come down. But India's Labour Ministry issued a clarification recently. It says for most people nothing really changes, especially if your Provident Fund or retirement savings are already capped at 15,000 rupees. Let's explain. If you earn a basic salary of 15,000 rupees per month, your monthly PF cut is 12% of that amount. That's 1,800 rupees. That rule stays the same, and it's voluntary to increase this deduction, even under the new code. So if you were already following this system, your take-home won't change much. The government gave an example. Say you earn 60,000 rupees a month, out of that 20,000 is basic pay, and 40,000 goes towards allowances. The cut towards your Provident Fund is still 1,800 rupees, which means your take-home is around 56,000 rupees. And it stays that way, even after the new rules. But there's a catch. Not everyone will escape the impact. Some employers might restructure salaries. They could increase your basic pay to meet the 50% rule, and that could increase your PF, gratuity, and leave encashment deductions. So yes, your take-home might shrink. So what does this mean for your next appraisal? It depends. If your company keeps the structure unchanged, you'll see the full raise in your account. But if they tweak the numbers to meet the new rule, you might get a pay hike on paper, but not in your pocket. Here's the bottom line. Will your take-home salary shrink next year? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on how your company responds and how your salary is structured. But one thing is certain, the HR department is going to be very, very busy, and it might be a good time to actually read your salary slip before the fine print catches up.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
To go for a straight face-off on this, Tuin Sinha, national spokesperson of the BJP, is joining us. Sujata Paul is spokesperson of the Congress Party, who's joining us. Sujata Paul, let me start with you, ma'am, because look, Rahul Gandhi is free to criticize the government, Mr. Modi's policies, the economy. All of that is kosher, but it should be in keeping with facts, right? Here are the facts. The number of vehicles that India produced in 1991, just as India was opening up, was 2 million units annually. Today, we are producing 28 million units. That's a more than 10-fold increase. Even in vehicle exports, India's automobile exports rose to 53 lakh, 5.3 million units across all vehicle categories, growing at almost 20% year on year. These are the facts. You can't quibble with these facts. You can't quibble with this data. You can make political points, but let's be honest to the facts.
Let's be honest to the facts. And what Mr. Rahul Gandhi said was that TVS company's 450cc bike was being developed with BMW, and the Indian flag is flying high, and that's great to see. But in India, if you want to make sure that we are a strong economy, we should look at manufacturing because it is declining. And I am going to quote to you from the Hindu of 1st December 2025, where it has been mentioned that manufacturing has been at an all-time low in 9 months. And it says, I quote, the seasonally adjusted HSBC India Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, that is PMI, fell from 59.2 in October to 56.6 in November, highlighting the slowest improvement in operating conditions since February. So clearly, when you are going to be selective about data, that will raise questions, because if you're really patriotic, you will want your country to better. But you were talking about the mobile phones which were being exported, manufactured. Yes. And I thank you for doing that, because the fact of the matter is that if I start rattling off the data, which is really a long list, the components which are being used are not manufactured in India, please. It is all imported from various countries, even Korea, China, etc. So what is this? We are assembled in India rather than manufactured in India.
No, but ma'am, can I just give you a couple of that 59.2 that you talked about in October, I believe, was a 17-year high. The Purchasing Manufacturing Index has never been this high as far as India is concerned in manufacturing. Now, on the question of mobile phones, since you brought it up, here are the facts, right? Mobile phone exports from India rose from 1,500 crores in 2014-15 to over 2 lakh crores in 24-25. That is a more than 100 times increase. Now, please tell me, how is that a problem, or how is that an issue to be taken politically on?
Warning signs are flashing in the American economy, and they're not coming from the Wall Street, they're coming from the Main Street. The job market is slowing, people are spending less, and the impact is no longer abstract. Yesterday, the US posted a number. It immediately grabbed headlines. Unemployment in the United States has risen to 4.6%. 4.6% last month. That's the highest level in 4 years. The last time it was this high was in 2021, and that was during the Wuhan virus pandemic. And now they've gone back to the same level. What does it mean? In simple words, it means that more Americans are without work, that finding a job is getting tougher, and that competition for jobs is increasing. But why is this happening? Why is unemployment rising in the world's biggest economy? For multiple reasons. Number one, the government has cut jobs. Earlier this year, the Trump administration decided to shrink the federal government. They said it was too large, it was too expensive, so they decided to cut spending, not by mass firings, but by offering employees deferred resignation deals. Again, what does that mean? What is a deferred resignation deal? It's a deal where government workers chose to leave voluntarily. They were paid for a short transition period, and then they were removed from the payroll. More than 150,000 federal employees took that offer, 150,000 people. As these workers left and looked for new jobs, they were counted as unemployed. And the result was this. In the month of October, federal government employment fell by more than 160,000 jobs. It is the sharpest drop in more than a decade. That's reason one, fewer government jobs. The second reason for high unemployment is a hiring freeze. And this is across the private sector. This freeze is being driven by policy uncertainty. Companies are not sure what is coming next, so they're not hiring more people. And this is directly linked to Donald Trump's trade war. He has slapped tariffs left, right, and center. He says this is to protect American industry. But you see, tariffs also raise costs for US businesses. When costs rise, profits become harder to predict. And when profits are uncertain, companies become cautious. This delays expansion. And companies freeze hiring. This does not always lead to mass layoffs, but it does mean fewer new jobs. And when job creation slows, unemployment rises over time. But guess what? President Trump insists that the US economy is strong. He insists that prices are coming down for people, that wages are rising, and that America is entering a quote-unquote golden age.
They gave you the highest inflation in history, and we're bringing those prices down rapidly. Lower prices, bigger paychecks. You're getting lower prices, bigger paychecks. We're getting inflation. We're crushing it. And you're getting much higher wages. I mean, the only thing that's really going up big, it's called the stock market and your 401ks.
Trump has repeated this message across the country, but the data punctures his claims because this story is far more complex. Yes, the Wall Street is doing well, but most Americans do not live off stocks. They live off paychecks and job security, and that is where the pressure is showing. Unemployment is rising, hiring is slowing, and wage growth is losing momentum. This pressure is also showing up in polls. A new poll is out. It shows Trump's approval ratings are slipping. Overall, approval has fallen to around 39%. It was 47% at the beginning of the second term. On the economy front, the numbers are even lower. Just 33% of Americans approve of Trump's economic policies, and this is not a polling blip. This is a signal. The US economy is not in a free fall, but it is slowing down, and for millions of Americans, that slowdown is feeling personal. That's the signal that the White House cannot afford to ignore. Our next story is about the Football World Cup. It comes once every 4 years. It is organized by a body called FIFA. FIFA is the body that governs world football. The next World Cup will be held in 2026. It will take place in the US, Canada and Mexico. It is the biggest tournament ever. 48 teams will compete in the event. But even before the first ball is kicked, the tournament is under scrutiny. FIFA's ticket prices have triggered a global reaction. Fans say the World Cup has become too expensive. Some tickets were priced in thousands of dollars. This led to a backlash. It forced FIFA to cut ticket prices. A limited number of tickets will now cost just $60. But critics say it's far from enough. Here's a report.
FIFA is facing growing pressure. Just months before the 2026 World Cup, football's governing body has been forced to change course. After a wave of global backlash, FIFA has lowered some ticket prices. FIFA stands for the Fédération Internationale de Football Association. It is the organization that runs world football, and it controls the World Cup. On Tuesday, FIFA announced a new ticket category. A limited number of tickets will now cost $60. That includes tickets for every match, even the final. FIFA says these tickets are meant for loyal supporters. They will be distributed through national football associations. FIFA is calling this the supporter entry tier, but the numbers are small. Only a few hundred of these tickets will be available per match. For the final, around 450 seats will be priced at $60. The announcement follows days of anger from supporters. When ticket prices were first released, supporters were stunned. The cheapest tickets ranged from $120 to more than $265. That was just for group stage games. Fans following their team through every match to the final were facing total costs close to $7,000. That figure covered multiple games. By contrast, some single tickets for the final alone were priced above $4,000. Supporter groups accused FIFA of pricing ordinary fans out. They criticized dynamic pricing and resale fees, and they said loyal supporters were being sidelined. But despite FIFA's decision to lower prices, fan organizations say it needs to do more.
It is a step into the right direction. but it's clearly not sufficient. The other thing is that the gap between two categories is enormous. So it is a good and a fair price for some, a few hundreds of fans, and then when you move on to the next step on the ladder, it's very, very expensive. So we would see it as again the first step into the right direction, but FIFA needs to do more.
Fan groups have warned that atmosphere inside stadiums could suffer. They have also raised concerns about access for fans with disabilities. The backlash has now reached the political level. The British Prime Minister welcomed the lower-priced tickets, but he urged FIFA to do more.
As someone who used to save up for England tickets, I encourage FIFA to do more to make tickets more affordable, so that the World Cup doesn't lose touch with the genuine supporters who make the game so special.
FIFA says the new prices are designed to support traveling fans. It says half of each national association's ticket allocation will now fall into lower-priced categories. FIFA has also agreed to waive administrative fees when refunds are processed after the final. The 2026 World Cup will be the largest ever. It will feature 48 teams and will be hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The event is expected to generate at least $10 billion in revenue. With the tournament now just months away, the question remains, will FIFA's concession be enough to satisfy fans and preserve the World Cup atmosphere that makes the tournament special?
Now let's talk about the one joke that comes back every year. Delhi's air. The AQI is poor, which is government language for please don't breathe too deeply. Official monitors say it's near 500. International monitors say it's around 800. Breathing this air is like smoking 43 cigarettes a day, which means Delhi is the only city where non-smokers still finish a pack by lunchtime. So naturally, the internet did what it does best. It made memes, because when you can't see the sun, you might as well see the jokes. Take a look. And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Clashes erupt in Spain as riot police attempt to clear a migrant settlement. Christmas lights illuminate several cities across the globe as the festive season draws near, and a Japanese woman marries ChatGPT in an intimate wedding ceremony. Finally, we're taking you back in history on this date, 1903. The Wright brothers achieved the first successful flight. Their airplane was made of wood and fabric. It had a 12-horsepower engine. The flight lasted for 12 seconds and covered 120 feet. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good evening, you're watching Brass Tacks with me, Zakir Jacob. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi visited the BMW World factory in Germany, where he mounted on a BMW motorcycle. He explored the company's flagship cars, but he also used the visit to underline his argument that India needs to strengthen its manufacturing base and create more production-linked jobs. Now, but here's the thing. Mr. Gandhi is free to criticize the economy under Mr. Modi. That's his job as leader of the opposition. But the reality tells a different story. Indian manufacturing is actually seeing a big boom. India's exports, despite the Trump tariffs, the 50%, they have actually grown more than 20% in the month of November, just to the United States alone. Overall exports to the US are at $38 billion, which is higher than previous months. When it comes to cars, because he was specifically talking about cars in the BMW factory, India is exporting today more than 5 million cars globally, and it's growing at 20% per annum. So this argument about Indian manufacturing having a slump or declining, is that a fair argument? Or is Mr. Gandhi using a familiar trope, something that he's used before as well, of trying to defame India, the Indian government, the Indian economy story? Remember, he's famously agreed with President Trump, saying that the Indian economy is dead, when no one thinks it's dead. For God's sake, it's growing at 8.2% last quarter. You may debate and quibble with the numbers, but those are the numbers for what it's worth. 8.2%, fastest growing large economy in the world. So is this a familiar political ploy that Mr. Gandhi is using, which is to defame the Indian economy and India and the Indian government from foreign soil? Or is there merit in his argument that we're not creating enough manufacturing jobs? Now, let me put some of the facts out there for our viewers to judge before we open this up to our panelists. Here's where the numbers stack. There's no politics around it. This is hard data. Here's how the numbers stack. Some facts that Mr. Gandhi and the Congress should consider. In 2014-15, India's total electronics production stood at a little over 1.9 lakh crores, about 2 lakh crores, you could say. In 10 years, by 24-25, that has surged more than 5 times to 11.3 lakh crores. That's almost a 500% increase over the last 10 years. Electronics exports were 38,000 crores in 2014-15. That has jumped almost 10 times to 3.27 lakh crores in 2024-25. Now, if you look at the number of mobile manufacturing units that India had 10 years ago, it had just 2 mobile manufacturing units. In the last 10 years, India has added more than 250 units. There are now 300 units that manufacture mobile phones in the country. That's a staggering almost 15,000% increase. Mobile phone production, the value of mobile phones that are produced in India, manufactured in India, rose from 18,000 crores in 2014-15 to over 5 lakh crores in 2024-25. When it comes to mobile phone exports, there were only 1,500 crores worth of mobile phone exports in 2014-15. Today, they stand at 2 lakh crores. even in vehicular production, which is what Mr. Gandhi was criticizing because he was at the BMW factory. If you look at India, circa 1991, when India was just beginning to open up, India produced about 2 million vehicles annually. Today, the same India has produced 28 million vehicles annually, which is a 10-fold increase over the last 30 years. So the question is there merit to the argument that he's making? Let's first listen into what Mr. Gandhi said, and then we will get some political reactions as well. We'll open this up to our guests as well.
देश के एलओपी का एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण दायित्व होता है। बहुत रेस्पॉन्सिबल तरीके से देश के एलओपी को बिहेव करना होता है, विशेष करके जब एलओपी विदेश की भूमि में होते हैं। पार्लियामेंट यहाँ चल रहा है। पार्लियामेंट में बहुत सारे महत्वपूर्ण बिल्स पे चर्चा हो रही है और इंडियन डायस्पोरा को एड्रेस करने के लिए राहुल गांधी जर्मनी में है और विदेश की भूमि से भारत को अपमानित करना और भारत के विरोध में बोलना कहीं न कहीं दिखाता है कि राहुल गांधी और कांग्रेस पार्टी के मन में किस प्रकार की भावना भारतवर्ष को लेकर है।
ये आलोचना नहीं है, ये फैक्ट है और जो फैक्ट है वो तो कहा जाएगा वो सारी दुनिया को मालूम है। सवाल सिर्फ इतना सा उठता है कि विदेशी धरती पे जब प्रधानमंत्री जाके कहें कि सबसे भ्रष्टाचारी देश हिंदुस्तान था, मेरे पहले वहाँ लोग किसी का विश्वास नहीं करते थे, तो प्रधानमंत्री जर्मनी में, चाइना में, जापान में, हर देश में बोले तो वो बात जब आलोचना करें तो वो नहीं करनी चाहिए। पर ये तो दिस इज फैक्ट, ये तो पूरी दुनिया को मालूम है।
I want to go for a straight face-off on this. Tuin Sinha, national spokesperson of the BJP, is joining us. Sujata Paul is spokesperson of the Congress Party, who's joining us. Sujata Paul, let me start with you, ma'am, because, look, Rahul Gandhi is free to criticize the government, Mr. Modi's policies, the economy. All of that is kosher. But it should be in keeping with facts, right? Here are the facts. The number of vehicles that India produced in 1991, just as India was opening up, was 2 million units annually. Today, we are producing 28 million units. That's a more than 10-fold increase. Even in vehicle exports, India's automobile exports rose to 53 lakh, 5.3 million units across all vehicle categories, growing at almost 20% year on year. These are the facts. You can't quibble with these facts. You can't quibble with this data. You can make political points, but let's be honest to the facts.
Let's be honest to the facts. And what Mr. Rahul Gandhi said was that TVS company's 450cc bike was being developed with BMW, and the Indian flag is flying high, and that's great to see. But in India, if you want to make sure that we are a strong economy, we should look at manufacturing because it is declining. And I am going to quote to you from the Hindu of 1st December 2025, where it has been mentioned that manufacturing has been at an all-time low in 9 months. And it says, I quote, the seasonally adjusted HSBC India Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, that is PMI, fell from 59.2 in October to 56.6 in November, highlighting the slowest improvement in operating conditions since February. So clearly, when you are going to be selective about data, that will raise questions, because if you're really patriotic, you will want your country to better. But you were talking about the mobile phones which were being exported, manufactured. Yes. And I thank you for doing that, because the fact of the matter is that if I start rattling off the data, which is really a long list, the components which are being used are not manufactured in India, please. It is all imported from various countries, even Korea, China, etc. So what is this? We are assembled in India rather than manufactured in India.
No, but can I just, ma'am, can I just, give you a couple of, that 59.2 that you talked about in October, I believe, was a 17-year high. The Purchasing Manufacturing Index has never been this high as far as India is concerned in manufacturing. Now, on the question of mobile phones, since you brought it up, here are the facts, right? Mobile phone exports from India rose from 1,500 crores in 2014-15 to over 2 lakh crores in 24-25. That is a more than 100 times increase. Now, please tell me, how is that a problem, or how is that an issue to be taken politically on? Like I said, please attack Mr. Modi, please attack his policies, economy, whatever you want to attack. But the data says there's been a 100 times jump in mobile phone exports.
Don't keep talking about attacking anybody. This country belongs to Mr. Gandhi as well as Mr. Modi.
Of course.
And if you're yes, so it's not about attacking one person. It is talking about bettering our country. And like I said, what is being exported? First to import, we could manufacture that. And during the pandemic, we could have really become the manufacturing hub of the subcontinent, at least, if not the world. Okay. And clearly, somewhere we have been missing on that. And when you talk about exports, it's actually, importing the parts, the components, assembling them.
Okay, you made that point. We're assemble in India, we're not make in India. Tuhin Sinha, 2 points. Number one, because of the Trump tariffs, 50% tariffs that he has imposed, in the month of September, exports to the US fell by 12%. In the month of October, it fell by 9%. Now, the point that Mr. Gandhi is making is we're anyway not growing our manufacturing to the extent that it needs to create 2 crore jobs in a year. Today, the contribution of manufacturing to GDP has slipped to 14.5, which is the lowest in decades. So yes, he has a point when he says that manufacturing is where you have the most labor-intensive, jobs that are created. Therefore, you need to grow your manufacturing. You're not able to grow it. So yes, you're not growing fast enough.
Zaka, good evening, Zaka. Good evening, everybody. Rahul Gandhi is a compulsive pessimist. Generic data does not do justice to India's manufacturing foray, the vast strides which India has taken since 2014. For me, you have already provided the difference. I don't even need to spell out the data because that is what I was going to do initially when it comes to electronics production vis-a-vis 2014 and what it is now when it comes to mobile manufacturing. So I'm not even getting into that. But let us realize the paradigm shift that has happened in the last 11 years. We have streamlined, we have focused our production into the absolute high value sectors. For example, the defense production today stands at 1,50,590 crores. What was it in 2014? It was a mere 46,000 crores. And India, could not imagine manufacturing some of the high weaponry which we do now, whether it is BrahMos or others. When it comes to shipbuilding, what is the size of India's shipbuilding industry today? It is $1.12 billion. In 11 years ago, it was 1/10 of that. So when it comes to the space sector, when it comes to the semiconductor manufacturing, they could not even think of semiconductor manufacturing. Our initiation should have begun ideally 2 decades back. Today,
but Tuhin, the larger point that Mr. Gandhi is making is, when COVID happened, the government talked about China +1. We're going to be the China +1. People are going to offshore to India and we'll become the China +1. Nothing of that sort has happened. 2, you talked about semiconductors. Just recently, Mr. Trump has announced an alliance called Pax Silica. It has America and 8 other countries. It has Japan, South Korea, Israel. There's no India. If we are a semiconductor manufacturing hub, why is India not part of this rare earths and semiconductor alliance? So these are questions that are genuine questions which need to be asked.
Jaka, if you look at pure data, the sheer magnitude at which semiconductor manufacturing units are coming across in 6 different states. Obviously, India is going to be a power on its own, of its own. Certainly, the other, who builds up these alliances, and keeps India out, only those countries would keep India out who know the prowess of India, which is something Rahul Gandhi fundamentally does not realize. He's fundamentally cynical about India's strides, about India's abilities, and which is what makes the entire approach of Congress party very cynical today.
So, Ms. Sujata Paul, the point is, India last quarter 2, July to September, grew at 8.2%. No country on the planet, no large economy on the planet is growing at 8.2%. This is even beating forecasts by RBI, forecasts by IMF, by World Bank. Now, please tell me, if an economy is growing at 8.2%, fastest for any large economy in the world, then surely manufacturing must be growing, surely exports must be growing. I mean, this is basic economics, man.
Come on. There are favorable overall demand conditions, but we are not being able to fulfill it. And let's talk about data only. If you talk about in absolute terms, fine. You can say whatever you feel like. We might be seeming to grow in absolute terms. But what about the share in GDP? It has been at 16 to 17% for the last 20 years, 15 years, or 10 years, 11 years. So where is the change? You have to explain whether in the last 11 years have we changed from 16 to 17% of the GDP in the manufacturing sector. One. Secondly, when you talk about the growth rate, is it, we are talking about growth rate here. We are not talking in absolute terms again. Because when you are looking at absolute terms, you're not talking about the increase in the dollar, rupee, so you are not even considering all those factors. You're giving me data about
a $4 trillion economy growing at 8% is certainly growing in absolute terms faster than a $2 trillion economy growing at 5%. I mean, it's obvious.
I'm asking you, the GDP, is it increasing? It is, what is it as far as the GDP is concerned? You tell me, you give me your
data. It is increasing the last quarter, July to September quarter, India's GDP in the last quarter, quarter 2, July to September, which is the last quarter that we have data for, grew at 8.2%. Which is higher than what anybody anticipated. Even the government did not anticipate it would get 8.2%.
Mr. Modi had clearly said, and he had said it correctly, that the Make in India goal was going to be 25% if we really wanted to achieve world standards. But if you yourself are sticking to this 8.2% growth rate, then I am asking you what percent of the GDP is being contributed to manufacturing?
Growth rate at 8.2. China is growing at 5%, madam.
I am asking you a question, Zaka.
Anyway, okay.
Give me an answer to that. What percent of the GDP is the manufacturing sector?
So I exactly asked that question to Tuhin Sinha. We are still stuck at 15%. We should be at 20 or 25%. I agree with you. That's not the debating point at all. The debating point is if the Indian economy, the overall Indian economy is growing at 8.2%, then sure, and manufacturing PMI in October was at 59, which is a 17-year high, then surely you cannot make the case. No one can make the case that in India manufacturing is declining or the Indian economy is dead. That's what Mr. Gandhi is making.
Not at all. What he's saying is that according to what we had done during the UPA era, the momentum that we had built, did that momentum gain further in the NDA government? No, it hasn't. It has stagnated, and that is why manufacturing overall has dipped. And because the component of the GDP should have shown us an increase. If there was more demand, should it not be more in terms of GDP?
Tuhin, please respond. The contribution of manufacturing as a percentage of GDP has not increased. It's at multi-year low, and only manufacturing can create the number of jobs that you need, because otherwise you're going to have jobless growth, and that's been a constant complaint of not just the opposition. Even industry has been talking about jobless growth. Yes, Tuhin.
Number one, I think Congress just missed my point. Our focus on high value sectors, is where the growth in manufacturing is. If there are certain other sectors, which have not grown, the future is about AI. The future is about the space sector. The future is about defense. And that is where our growth has been something to watch out for, which the Congress refuses to acknowledge. Now, I am surprised at the way they are undermining the GDP growth. If there are sectors like services, which has always been a stronghold and which continue to be a stronghold and which are contributing to the 8.2% GDP rise, quarterly, will Congress, just abandon services? I think the Congress also needs to have a more holistic, a more pragmatic, and a more nuanced approach. Like I mentioned, these 4 or 5 sectors, whether it is defense, space, semiconductor, shipbuilding, are the future, and that is where, generic data and short-term data can be misleading, but our thrust on these sectors is going to take India forward.
I'm completely out of time. Sujata Paul, 10 seconds. I've got to wrap up after that.
Yes,
10 seconds.
Absolutely.
Please,
the Prime Minister had said And it was projected that the manufacturing and GDP was projected to be about 25% by 2022. And the GDP share of manufacturing in 2013 to 2014 was 16.7%, which has fallen to 15.9% in 23-24.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Begin to tell you how striking the contrast is. On a day when the Prime Minister is out there selling India's growth story to the world, convincing foreign governments and global investors that India is open for business, and you can see on your right, viewers, top investors sitting with the Prime Minister offering to bring in billions of dollars to invest in our country. He's holding investor meets, he's traveling abroad, he's going to Ethiopia, he's going to Oman, he's going to other countries, corralling business and hoping that investors will come. Telling them that India is open for business, it's confident and competitive. While all this is going on, the leader of the opposition, viewers, is in Germany. He's at the BMW factory and you can see him there on bikes, in the cars, trying out everything. And he's busy declaring that the Indian economy is not up to the mark. This is what he says. Manufacturing is the backbone of strong economies. Sadly, in India, manufacturing is declining. For us to accelerate growth, we need to produce more. We need to build meaningful manufacturing ecosystems. We need to create high quality jobs at scale. This is what Rahul Gandhi is saying. A lot of it is not wrong, viewers, except that, viewers, it's devoid of fact. Has Rahul Gandhi looked at the numbers? Exports have risen from $34 billion in October to $38 billion in November. $4 billion, viewers, at a time when tariffs are being slapped on India. Imports have fallen sharply from 76 billion to 66 billion. What does this tell you? If you're exporting more, we must be producing more, right? Someone must be producing it. Viewers, Make in India is soaring. Electronics production over a 10-year period has grown 495%. There's a number. Electronics exports over a 10-year period has grown 760%. Manufacturing units in 2014-15 were about 2 units of mobiles. Today there are 300 units, which is a 14,900% increase. Mobile phone production in 10 years.
On to the other big story, and this is a life and death situation. If you're in the Delhi National Capital Region, the air quality here has plummeted once again. It's over 400 in many parts of the capital. GRAP 4 is in place. Vehicle emissions are the single biggest contributor to Delhi's toxic air, particularly in the winter months. You have cold weather that traps the smog very close to the ground. Experts estimate that vehicles alone account for up to 40% of the particulate matter pollution in the NCR, particularly in densely traveled corridors. And that is why stringent new rules are being implemented to curb emissions and improve air quality. The question, though, that many Delhiites are asking, we'll get to what those measures are in 1 second, but what many Delhiites are asking is the prescription to the disease even worse than the disease itself? Is the cure worse than the symptom? I want to tell you what the Delhi government has today announced. We'll hear from Mr. Sirsa as well, the Delhi Environment Minister. Here's what the Delhi government has announced. It's part of the emergency measures under Graded Response Action Plan, Stage 4, which is in play in Delhi right now. The government has decided that only BS6 vehicles, whether it's petrol, diesel, whatever it is, only BS6 vehicles that are registered outside of Delhi will be allowed to enter the city. As of now, all BS3 petrol vehicles are banned within Delhi city limits. Exemptions are granted only for essential services. BS4 diesel vehicles have also been banned except for emergency services and vehicles that are used for essential services. Now, vehicles without a valid pollution under control, that is PUC certificate, pollution certificate, will not be supplied any fuel at the fuel tanks. Also, the government has introduced a 50% mandatory work from home rule that's been enforced for both government as well as private sector employees. But whether or not that's implemented on the ground, that's a totally different matter altogether. The most contentious one is the blanket ban on non-BS6 vehicles from entering Delhi city limits. And that has left many middle-class commuters in the lurch. And I'll tell you why. Because Delhi, unlike other cities, is not a fragmented city. It's part of a unit called the National Capital Region, NCR. So you have Noida, Ghaziabad, Gurgaon, all of it, these satellite cities are part of the NCR. Those cars which have a Haryana registration or an Uttar Pradesh registration will now be left out of the Delhi city limits. The ban is expected to impact a significant number of vehicles that cross into Delhi. Many people live in Noida, work in Delhi. Many people live in Gurgaon, work in Delhi. Live in Delhi, work in Gurgaon. So all of these people will be badly affected if they don't have a Delhi registration number plate. In the NCR itself, Gurgaon, for example, has over 2 lakh non-BS6 vehicles which ply between Gurgaon and Delhi or Gurgaon and other parts of the National Capital Region. Those 2 lakh vehicles will not be allowed to enter starting tomorrow. Noida, on the other hand, has more than 4 lakh non-BS6 vehicles will not be allowed to enter Delhi city limits starting tomorrow. Ghaziabad has more than 5 lakh, in fact 5.5 lakh vehicles, and their commuters will be affected and they will not be allowed to travel into or out of Delhi starting tomorrow. The vehicle will be seized. That's what the Environment Minister has said.
We are ready. Metro is ready. Metro doing the best job, And the DTC we have giving the best facility, The AC buses, lower fleet buses is ready हैं. हम तो request करेंगे आपके चैनल के माध्यम से कि वो हमारी बसों को संभाल करें, हमारे मेट्रो को संभाल करें, जिस कमर्शियल्स को थोड़ा सा ब्रेक करें कि हम इसको दिल्ली को और सुधारने में काम कर सकें. दिल्ली के साथ खिलवाड़ करने के कारण 11 वर्षों में दिल्ली का ये हाल हुआ है और दिल्ली की जनता को जो हमने अपना विश्वास जताया था, जो वादा किया था वो पूरा करने के लिए वचनबद्ध है और वो करेंगे.
So the toss for the 4th T20 International, the 5-match series between India and South Africa at the Bharat Ratna Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee Kana Stadium in Lucknow was delayed by more than half an hour because there was dense fog, with the white ball proving hard to spot. But it's not just the fog, it is rather smog. And it's not me who's saying it. Hardik Pandya was seen on the field wearing an N95 mask for a few minutes before the match was to begin. In fact, the match was delayed by about half an hour. So it's not just everyday life, even cricket is getting affected because of the pollution situation, not just in Delhi or NCR, but also across the northern belt. Kiran Bedi is former IPS officer, former Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry. Ma'am, you've been talking about this pollution problem. You've been writing letters to everyone from the Prime Minister to the Chief Minister. You've been writing in newspapers about it. I want to first start with the specific measure that the Delhi government has announced, that they're going to ban all non-Delhi registered cars, which are non-BS6, from entering Delhi starting tomorrow. What do you make of this? Because people in Delhi are saying, what about cars in Noida? What about cars in Gurgaon, in Ghaziabad, the National Capital Region? A lot of people live and work, intermingle between these two cities. You have to treat the NCR as a unified unit. You cannot just say that cars registered in Delhi will be allowed, the ones who are not will not be allowed. This piecemeal approach, what do you make of it?
What I've been writing about is that you are picking and choosing measures. Each one will have an impact, no problem. What percentage it will have, there's no expertise on that. I've been asking for town halls. Why can't they have a town hall meetings with all across the board experts and bring the secretaries concerned who have a bearing, who all have a bearing on pollution, like agriculture has, industry has, right? Vehicular traffic has. Sanitation, municipal corporation sanitation has. All these have a bearing on the pollution. They all have a percentage. Now, if you pick and choose, that's what happens. I've been asking and repeatedly writing and urging, please have a town hall meeting with the people. You are only doing a press conference and you're doing only a statement. And you're only putting a social media on this thing that you had a conference and that you're releasing a press release that you have a plan. The point is, why are you not having a town hall meeting? You don't need to have it in person.
Okay.
Just have the town hall meeting in by Zoom calls. You can live stream today, and if somebody is raising something loudly or impolite, you can always block him. So today you have technology to do town halls. So when you have the town halls, you will start getting citizens' participation and a holistic approach, and you will have listened to them. They will have felt heard about it, and then you can pick and choose, and you can then take the people into confidence that we will now, having heard all of you, here's a consensus. Here's a concrete execution plan. And in that, have the concerned secretaries of the departments concerned. You are not... So what I'm asking? Bring the elected and the appointed together with the people who've voted you in. We have given you all a trust vote. Please remain trustworthy by being visible.
So tell me, ma'am, now that, for the longest time, Delhi, whichever government was in power, was always saying, stubble burning in Punjab, in Haryana, that's the reason, that's the biggest reason why Delhi has pollution problem and so on and so forth. Now the numbers have come out. Certainly this season, this year, the number of stubble burning incidents has come down substantially. Vehicular pollution is the single biggest reason for pollution in Delhi. Now, there have been only 2 or 3 ideas to deal with vehicular traffic. Number one, that odd-even scheme which the AAP government introduced some years ago. It was a great inconvenience to a lot of people. Clearly, it's not a practical solution. Now, you have this measure by the current Delhi government that non-BS6 registered cars in Delhi will not be allowed inside Delhi. Why can't we have, as you said, a whole of, problem approach, a holistic approach, rather than this piecemeal?
This is exactly what I'm saying. If now we are again picking and choosing, there's a diesel involved. There's a kind of oil which is being used. These are aging vehicles which are being used. There is a very large, there's a whole variables. So bring people together and focus on, and declare the agenda. Declare the agenda that today's agenda for the Zoom call or for live streaming is this. Give us your ideas. People will join you. And then they can be moderated. Look, hasn't the Honorable Prime Minister been moderating students' chai par charcha?
Yeah.
Haven't we been? Don't we have the technology to listen to the people? So we can have partly in person and partly in. So we can have hybrid mode. And supposing you declare the agenda that let's pick up the priority which is causing maximum pollution in the country, in the city, and it could be vehicle. We want a debate on that. So rather than debate like on the channels, we have a hybrid direct engage common man. Common man doesn't come. The spokespersons come on your channels. Common man is not being heard. So I think this is what I'm saying. If you want more ideas where it's hurting most, then even if it's vehicular traffic, look at the whole gamut of pollution, what all is causing pollution, even from the vehicle. Look, there's even traffic involved. Remember, there's a traffic congestion which does. There's a traffic regulation which does. The kind of timing you have on the signals which does. See, there's even traffic police involved. So I think you are again picking and choosing. The effort is worthwhile, but the question is come together. Have an agenda for the town hall and then say, this is the agenda we want to thrash out. And then people will feel relieved. They've been heard. After that, of course, the decision will have to be taken by the government.
All right, ma'am, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Kiran Bedi there, former IPS officer, with her thoughts on how to deal with this problem of pollution.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Begin to tell you how striking the contrast is. On a day when the Prime Minister is out there selling India's growth story to the world, convincing foreign governments and global investors that India is open for business, and you can see on your right, viewers, top investors sitting with the Prime Minister offering to bring in billions of dollars to invest in our country. He's holding investor meets, he's traveling abroad, he's going to Ethiopia, he's going to Oman, he's going to other countries, corralling business and hoping that investors will come. Telling them that India is open for business, it's confident and competitive. While all this is going on, the leader of the opposition, viewers, is in Germany. He's at the BMW factory and you can see him there on bikes, in the cars, trying out everything. And he's busy declaring that the Indian economy is not up to the mark. This is what he says. Manufacturing is the backbone of strong economies. Sadly, in India, manufacturing is declining. For us to accelerate growth, we need to produce more. We need to build meaningful manufacturing ecosystems. We need to create high quality jobs at scale. This is what Rahul Gandhi is saying. A lot of it is not wrong, viewers, except that, viewers, it's devoid of fact. Has Rahul Gandhi looked at the numbers? Exports have risen from $34 billion in October to $38 billion in November. $4 billion, viewers, at a time when tariffs are being slapped on India. Imports have fallen sharply from 76 billion to 66 billion. What does this tell you? If you're exporting more, you must be producing more, right? Someone must be producing it. Viewers, make in India is soaring. Electronics production over a 10-year period has grown 495%. There's the number. Electronics exports over a 10-year period has grown 760%. Manufacturing units in 2014-15 were about 2 units of mobiles. Today there are 300 units, which is a 14,900% increase. Mobile phone production in 10 years currently stands at 5.45 lakh crores, a 2,928% increase. Mobile phone exports, look at the numbers, viewers, increase of 13,000%. Vehicle production in 1991, 2 million units, a 1,300% increase now. Clearly, they are being made in factories. The result, a trade deficit at a 5-month low.
Let's shift focus to another metropolis in Bangalore. A heart-wrenching tale came to the fore, an incident that would have put humanity to shame. A 34-year-old man was faced with complete indifference from 2 hospitals and passers-by, and eventually he met with an accident and died. Venkat Raman waited on the road, seething in pain. He later died even as his wife kept pleading for help with folded hands. The CCTV footage is out. No one cared. The couple set out on a motorcycle for medical assistance after he developed severe chest pain, but little did they know that the nightmare that it would turn out to be. Venkat was first taken to the Udbhava hospital. No doctors were present at the Udbhava hospital, so they referred him to another hospital. Then his wife rushed him to the Re-Life hospital, a short distance away. At that hospital, yes, there were doctors. An ECG test had been conducted there. It revealed that he had suffered from a mild heart attack. Doctors there advised Venkat and his wife to immediately proceed to the Jayadeva Hospital, one of the more popular hospitals in Bangalore, because this particular hospital did not have the advanced treatment required to deal with a cardiac event. The Jayadeva Hospital was several kilometers away. But instead of sending them on an ambulance or a hospital vehicle, they sent Venkat and his wife on a motorcycle, the same motorcycle that they came from home. And on the way, Venkat had an accident. By the time they got to the Jayadeva Hospital, he was declared dead. This was an easily preventable death. This was a delay in treatment which has costed a life. And this tragedy raises serious questions about emergency medical care and emergency medical preparedness. I want to first play out what his family had to say.
Ma'am, on the night, what exactly happened? How did it begin? What is the sequence of events? Please tell us.
From morning 3:30, this incident has happened. He was paining more. It was paining more. So what he done? He vomited. After vomited, he went. I told to him, I'll call a sister, but he didn't wait. He took his scooty and he went out. I'll go to hospital. If you come, you'll come or no? I don't want. I'll go to hospital. After that, I went to hospital. I went with Udbhava hospital, but the duty doctor was not there. After that, hospital of security, he told that go to Re-Life hospital. We went to Re-Life hospital. They took ECG and all. After taking ECG, my husband asked him, you give any treatment for this or you give any tablet? But they didn't give. They asked also whether you came, how did you came? They asked. He said we came from two-wheeler, but they didn't give any ambulance facilities also. After that, they told to go to Jayadeva Hospital. We went to Jayadeva Hospital. In Kadrinalli Circle, he got an accident.
He was driving.
Yeah, he was driving. When he was driving, got accident. After that, I'm begging all of them, but no one helped me. After that, lastly, after 5 to 10 minutes, his sister came. After that, she gave CRP and all. After CRP, he didn't wake up. After lastly, one cab driver came and stopped. After that, he took him in for Dayananda Sagar Hospital. In that Dayananda Sagar Hospital, so they took ECG in car only. They didn't took him inside of the hospital also.
So there are two sides to this story. No hospital can refuse medical care, emergency medical care, especially if you have a cardiac event such as this. But at the same time, not all hospitals are equipped to deal with it. So how does one, fight this problem? Dr. Devi Shetty is one of India's most famous cardiologists. He's the chairman and founder of Narayan Hridayalaya. Thank you very much, Dr. Shetty, for speaking with us. This very sad tale of a young man, mid-30s. He was taken to multiple hospitals. Passers-by, about half a dozen cars passed by him and his wife. They were out on the road asking for help. The first hospital said that they don't have the doctors to treat him. The second hospital did an ECG which revealed that he had a mild heart attack. They also said, we don't have the equipment to treat this, so take him to a bigger hospital. Before he could get to that bigger hospital, he died. It does raise concerns about hospitals denying emergency care. How does one deal with it? I want first your thoughts as a medical practitioner on this.
See, first of all, if the hospital doesn't have the infrastructure and the expertise to manage heart attack patients, it is better they refuse the treatment rather than admit the patient and not being able to offer the care. Because when the heart attack happens, there is something called golden period